Welcome to Art Appreciation. This is chapter 13, The Age of Faith. A lot of information included here. I really enjoy this chapter. It kind of takes us to the basis of a lot of who we are in our own lives as we take a look back at these foundational concepts. Constantine the Great was a Roman emperor. He was a uniquely important figure in the history of the late Roman Empire and Western civilization. After a victory in 313, he declared Christianity legal and stopped the persecution of Christian believers. In 325, he made Christianity the official state religion of Rome. So the question arises, why did he do these things? Some people see him as this great Christian savior to the pagan world. I think he was an intelligent man, and within his intelligence, he saw that it would be a difficult thing to hold together such a large empire if you persecute some of the religions that are held as so important by the citizens of Rome itself. And I think he understood how this violence was persecution was dividing the empire. So I think he was intelligent in that way and saw the rise of the popularity of Christianity. But definitely a very important person for the change. Um, this is the remains of the colossal statue of the emperor from 330. Its head alone is more than 8 feet tall. It suggests the direction that Western art will take in the centuries to come, moving away from naturalism and realism. So, with the Roman Empire, for most of the Roman Empire, art was about um, commemoration and history. As we break away from that and get more into the spiritual realm of things, you're going to see the artwork become a lot more abstract. Approximately 1,000 years divide Constantine's conversion to Christianity from the Italian Renaissance. If Constantine had been the immortal he appears to be in the statue, he would have seen those years the destruction of the western half of his empire, but also the beginning of an age of faith, and with his newfound Christianity coming to dominate Western Europe. The new Middle Eastern creed spread energetically, even beyond the boundaries of the former Roman state, eventually uniting a vast region from Iceland to Russia in the north and from Spain to Turkey in the south. At its southern and eastern borders, however, another vigorous Middle Eastern religion rose up to challenge Christian unity and dominance. Born in the desert lands of the Arabian Peninsula, and like Christianity, heir to the Judaic tradition of monotheism, Islam expanded across the Middle East in the 6th and 7th centuries, sweeping westward through North Africa and up into southern Spain. Between the 11th and 14th centuries, Muslim domination of Christian pilgrimage sites in the Middle East, particularly the city of Jerusalem, led to a series of crusades in which European Christians attempted to win back their Holy Land. Now, this is difficult because the Holy Land, Jerusalem, it is important to three religions. It is important to Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And it is important to know which rulers allowed other religions to live peacefully within those boundaries and not claim that their religion is the only religion that's correct and other religions to be driven out. This is the type of fighting that still goes on to this day and perhaps can be seen as a premise to wars that the United States has been involved in all the way down through the Gulf Wars in the 1990s. So, why did these crusades take place? Well, one reason is the Christians were fighting amongst themselves. The knights were fighting amongst themselves in Europe, dealing with a system called feudalism, in which you could conquer someone else and take their property and take their slaves or serfs that worked their land. So it was a very bloody time. And it seemed that the popes wanted those knights to leave Europe to calm down all the fighting and maybe unite together and to see that they needed to come together in Christianity. And that would take some of the fighting and whatnot out of Europe. Of course, most of these crusaders, so the vast majority of them, they fought and killed for gain and money. I don't know that Christianity was particularly important to them. They viewed the murder of anyone who wasn't a Christian as the proper thing to do. So finally, in 1453, Muslims captured the remnant of Constantinople, the capital of the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire, founded by Constantine 1,000 years earlier. The same period also saw the Indian religion of Buddhism extend its influence through China, Southeast Asia, Korea, and Japan. In India itself, however, Buddhism waned due to resurgence of the older Hindu religion. In this chapter, we explore art made in the name of all these important faiths: Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. In the years between 350 and about 1450, an era when religion replaced the political empires of ancient times as the primary unifying cultural force in most of Europe and Asia. So I think as we look at these religions, one important thing to get out of them is the fact that there is much more similarities in these religions than there are differences. We tend to try to find the differences in all these religions and claim that one is right and the others are wrong, and not really look at the similarities between them. One unifying creed in Buddhism is compassion for all living things. That is the most important concept. And then in Christianity, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, they both sound very similar to me. And if you were to read the Quran, the holy book of Islam, you would find it reading very similarly to the Christian Bible. And most of it is very similar. Even similar characters. You'll notice Christ and Mary being mentioned in the Quran, for instance. Okay, thank you, and we'll go on to our next part of our lecture. We'll come to part 2 of chapter 13, Timeless Links, Heaven and Hell. In the Age of Faith, approximately 500 to 1100 CE, the culture of Christian Europe was dominated by the Roman Catholic Church, generating a multitude of images of both heaven and hell. For example, the arches of a Gothic cathedral like Notre Dame in Paris draw the eye upward toward heavenly realms. In contrast, the facade of the Romanesque Cathedral of Autun includes graphic images of the Last Judgment, including a horrifying scene of angels and demons writhing human souls, determining which are bound for heaven, which for hell. Now, this is a Romanesque church. It is done before cathedrals, at a time when life is very short. In the Middle Ages, we have fighting, violence, the plague, the system there. There's no real upward mobility. Not a great time to be alive, and so this is reflected in the artwork that we see. We also have to imagine that with ideas of heaven and hell, there is a controlling aspect to the psychology of the lower classes, that you're born into this station in life. You stay in this station, but the reward comes if you act correctly, and in the next life, things will get better for you. Now, this is important at a time like this when, like I mentioned, there is no upward stability. Now, it is interesting to notice in the scene from the Last Judgment here how abstract the figures are. The anatomy is definitely gone away from what we saw in the Roman Empire. Yet the concepts of the realm of heavenly bliss and one of torment transcend medieval Christianity and even organized religion itself. These themes have inspired artworks from across the globe for thousands of years. Some, like the Buddhist angle from the Phoenix Hall in the 11th century Japan, look recognizable to our eyes. Floating on a cloud, with its head surrounded by a delicate golden halo, these figures seem like a distant cousin of angels we might see in a Renaissance painting. These celestial beings, or tenin, serve the Amida Buddha in paradise, some dancing, some singing, some leading mortal souls into the immortal realm. Like I mentioned here, there is that link between religions. Other works of art, like the Tibetan mandala, require more explanation so that we can recognize their meaning. At first, we might see this brightly colored pattern, made of sand, like a beautiful, almost abstract work of art. But this kind of carefully crafted symbolic image of a harmonious universe is meant not to just be seen, but to be contemplated and entered spiritually. Both the creation and contemplation of a mandala are sacred acts leading to a heaven that is experienced internally rather than visually. Arcadia is the name that the Greeks gave to an unspoiled world of natural harmony, an idyllic, peaceful, and pastoral landscape inhabited by shepherds. During the classical revival of the Baroque period, artist Nicolas Poussin pictured this ideal world in Et in Arcadia Ego. However, the central gravestone and its inscription, even in Arcadia I am, suggests that even in the most heavenly spot on earth, death still rules. For Christians, a classical vision of hell is the one painted by Hieronymus Bosch in the early 16th century. Flaming pits, terrible tortures, and a dark and putrid atmosphere pervade the scene of writhing bodies. I must point out that this is one panel of the triptych. The central panel, which is the largest, is kind of an idea of the sins that go on while we are alive. And then the far left panel is the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve and Christ. Rodin's magnificent Gates of Hell also featured writhing bodies, but here the tortures of hell, drawn from Dante's Inferno, are pictured as spiritual rather than physical, as each damned soul is isolated from the others and from God. Even contemporary art can focus on the scenes of spiritual and physical pain. Pippalati Wrists Selfless in the Bath of Lava is a video of the artist naked and alone, unable to escape from a hole in the floor beneath she is trapped in red, hot lava. Her cries for help me, excuse me, call to the viewer, who then experiences the torment of being incapable of assisting this suffering woman. Thank you, and that is our second recorded lecture.